Welcome to the tutorial on auditing. This is the third tutorial on coordinating the work of others. In this tutorial, we are going to learn about the process of evaluating the internal audit function while relying upon the work of an internal auditor. That means in this tutorial, we are going to learn about the process of coordinating the work from internal auditor. To evaluate the internal audit function, the auditor need to consider the following aspects. The first one is the auditor should know the organizational status, whether the internal audit is undertaken by the outside agency or whether the internal audit is undertaken by the internal department. The status of this issue should be known to the auditor, as well as the auditor should know to whom the internal audit head reports to. That means to which authority the internal audit submit the internal report, and the rights and limitations in carrying out the audit. These issues or aspects affect the status of the organization in which the internal audit function is positioned in an organization. And as an auditor, if you want to evaluate the internal audit function while relying upon the work of an internal auditor, you should know the organizational status. As well as the auditor should also consider the scope of function of the internal audit. What is the depth and what are the coverage of areas brought within the fold of internal audit. These aspects should also be evaluated by the auditor for the internal audit function. The next issue is technical competence. The auditor should evaluate the skill and competence of the operating personnel in the internal audit function. That means who are the internal auditor, what are the skills and competence possessed by the internal auditor. This issue also should be evaluated by the auditor. The auditor should also consider the due professional care. That means the planning and performance of internal audit function as evidenced by audit program, manual, working papers, documentation, reporting, etc. The auditor should evaluate the internal audit function by evaluating the audit program, manual, working papers, documentation, reporting by the internal auditor. The internal auditor will maintain audit program, they will maintain manual, working papers, documentation, reporting. The auditor should evaluate these issues while evaluating the internal audit function. The last one is consideration of internal audit report. The weight given by the management to the reports of internal auditors. That means as an auditor, whenever you are taking the help from the internal audit function, you need to consider what is the weight given by the management to the reports prepared by the internal auditors. These are the issues which should be considered while evaluating the internal audit function at the time of relying upon the work of an internal auditor. The issues are organizational status, scope of the function of internal audit, technical competence of the internal auditors, due professional care taken by the internal auditor, and weight of the work done by the internal auditors. Thank you.